Right, here we go. Take N, and only 23 minutes late, but we do have sound finally working. So, what has happened this week? I don't know whether I should start from furthest to go or most recent. The most recent news is naturally that the government announced an easing of restrictions today. So the federal government announced a general easing of restrictions with the state governments following suit. I confess that I am not across what's happening in other states, but in South Australia, the Premier announced this afternoon that there's a whole raft of changes. The big one for the wine and hospo industries is, of course, that we can now have outdoor dining. And as I say that, I think it's just starting to bucket down with rain outside. And as we are coming into winter, no more than 10 people. This only applies at this stage to cafes and restaurants. So no more than 10 people. Apparently that does not include staff. That's just the guests. Don't quote me on that though. And no alcohol sales. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. I suspect for a lot of venues, opening up for sit-down dining with only 10 people maximum is possibly not going to be worth it. But perhaps if you can get a group of 10 in, that's slightly different from just having to limit yourself to 10. And obviously, if you have to limit yourself to 10, that's really awkward, because if you've got 8 people and a group of 4 turns up, you have to turn them away. But it's good news, and it'll be exciting to see how things changes. I believe the next raft of changes might mean that it's up to 20 people. Hopefully we won't all have to sit outside for too long. Now, jumping back to the start of the week, it was announced last weekend that Ian Riggs AM, the chief winemaker and managing director at Brokenwood in the Hunter Valley, is going to be stepping down from those roles. He is going to stay on as a director and a consultant. He very kindly participated in our very first masterclass, and I'm sure that he will be very much missed. Well, he will be missed by those at Brokenwood, even though he will still be working as a consultant. Yesterday, Wine Australia and CSIRO announced that they've discovered there was a mix-up with some grapes imported from France in 1979, and what everybody thought was Petit Montseng, it turns out is actually Gros Montseng. Really sensibly, Wine Australia is not going to make people relabel product that they already have. So vintage 2020 will need to be, and onward will need to be labelled correctly, but existing wines won't need to have their labels changed. So this is going to affect, now the stat I saw said that it affects 15 to 20 growers Australia-wide, but how many wineries that actually affects, that will be interesting to see. I know that 919 in the Riverland have a Petit Montseng, so I'm guessing that, but I don't know whether that's there or not, they buy that in. It also sounds like there's a lot of testing work going on at the moment, so with great varieties. So I suspect this is the tip of the iceberg, and that what we'll see is a little bit more of this in the future. In other news, the Wild University and TAFE will be back for face-to-face tutorials with no more than 10 people next week. I'm not going to be running face-to-face WSET courses for a little while, not least because I don't actually have a venue in which I can run them at the moment. However, I did have some news during the week from the WSET that they have now firmed up their remote invigilation plans. So I will be looking at putting together costs and logistics mechanics, and offering WSET level 1 in wines sooner rather than later. So that'll be a combination of Zoom sessions and then the remotely invigilated exam. And we will be able to offer level 2 in the same way. With the sort of relaxing of restrictions here in South Australia, I'm a little bit inclined to hang back on level 2, because tasting is so important in level 2 in particular. And I just don't think that sitting at home without the wines in front of you is going to be as good an experience. But we will see how everything plays out. If you are interested in level 1, particularly in this remote option, drop me an email if you haven't already. I will be getting in touch with all the level 1 people as soon as I have all my plans firmed up. Our next online masterclass is Thursday, the 21st of May at 6 p.m. Adelaide time, and the theme is Cabernet Sauvignon. We have the wines in stock. We have relatively limited stock at the moment. With deliveries being a little bit slower than usual, I might have to cap it at 5 of each pack. We'll see how we go, but obviously the BYO tickets will be there. After the 21st of May, I'm looking at shifting the format of these slightly, looking at shifting to possibly monthly. And I'm going to be contacting everybody who's attended any of the masterclasses to get some feedback around timing, because once people start going back into the office, I think that 6 p.m. might be a slightly too early start. So there'll be a few changes post the 21st of May, but the 21st of May is definitely 6 p.m. Thursday, the 21st of May, and we'll be looking at Australian Cabernet Sauvignon. So we have wines from Clare, Coonawarra, and Western Australia, Great Southern and Margaret River in Western Australia. Now, what have I been drinking this week? Now, this looks like a massive pile of bottles, and it's not really, because I drank Pinot Noir, and Andy always helps when I have Pinot Noir. So first up is a bottle, I had this last weekend, of 42 Degrees South sparkling from Tassie. The winery is Frogmore Creek, quite a big winery, and probably not the type of thing that I would normally. This is pretty mainstream. You can go to any bottle shop, and when it comes to sparkling, I tend to seek out things that are a little bit different. I have to say that I was actually really pleasantly surprised, and I think this is about $25. And you can spend more money and get something that's less interesting. This is not the biggest, most complex, interesting, intellectual sparkling wine you're going to come across, but it's pretty sound. I was happily surprised, pleasantly surprised. After that, we have 2 bottles of Pinot. I can't remember which order we drank these in, to be honest. So we have the Mike Press Pinot Noir. This is 2016. So this was the last one of stock. So the whole pile went out last week. And then the Francis John 2015 from Golding. Now, these are at 2 different ends of the price point spectrum. The Golding's about 45, and the Mike Press is, I think, sub 20 still. Both Adelaide Hills. One thing with the Golding is, my God, if you have this at home with the cold weather, make sure that it is not too cold when you drink it, because it was definitely far too cold when we opened it, and it was really, really tight and flat, and it took a little bit of time in the glass to warm up and open up. And I've had this wine before, so I knew what the problem was. This is a lovely wine, and I recommend that. And look, bang for buck, Mike Press is just always amazing. I don't have any of the Pinot in stock at the moment, but if you are after some of the current release Pinot, get in touch with me and I'll see if I can get a hold of it for you, because it's such amazing value. It does often sell out as soon as it's released. And then last of all, I have a bottle of Shining Rock Shiraz, again from the Adelaide Hills, and some more Shiraz. I didn't know anything about these guys, and I think I was in a wine Facebook group and saw them mentioned. So I've bought a 6-pack of their wines. They have Shiraz, Sangiovese, Grüner Veltliner, and Viognier. So this is the first wine that I've tried of theirs, and I really liked it. Now, I think it is about $35 a bottle, but it was really interesting. So immediately in the glass, it was these really kind of rich, black fruit, black plummy kind of characteristics. And then when I came back to it, it had really amped up the black pepper. And then it sort of still had the fruit there, and then with a little bit more time it started to pick up some more green stalky characteristics. Now I quite like those. Andy was a bit like, no, too green for me, but I really enjoyed this, and I'm really looking forward to the other wines of theirs that I've got, sussing them out, and this might go in the store at some point. Stay tuned. All right, I think that is everything after my very many attempts at starting this evening. Take care, stay warm. It's very chilly. And I shall hopefully see lots of you at the masterclass on the 21st. Otherwise, 6 p.m, fingers crossed, next week here on the blog. Cheers.